Let me introduce Elaine. Stockton. I always misspelled her name. Uh, as she is our council secretary. She's been with us for quite a few years and is very knowledgeable. So she will go ahead and get us started.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Are we just gonna go jump right in?
Yep,
okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so thanks to Sochi, she did this great presentation.
No.
Yeah. Okay, what does a recording secretary do? So I know that Carla said that she hasn't done secretary as a position, but does know a little bit about it. Well, Joan, have you done secretary position, or is this your first year?
In my first year as secretary, it's my third year on the board.
On the board, okay, great. So as it says, it states it is an elected position, so congratulations, you were elected. You prepare for a meeting, act during the meeting. The way you act is you take notes and other tasks. It could be just mainly assisting the president, possibly the treasurer if there's things that they might need. And then post-meeting is the follow-through. In a nutshell, it's basic secretarial information. Prepare for meetings. Did you want to do it, Sochi?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. We'll just trade off. So we're going to get down to the nitty gritty and going to go by this very quickly, and hopefully we'll have enough time afterwards to answer any questions. Carolina, I know you have, she's from Longfellow, so welcome. She's got a little bit of experience also, but I don't think she's ever been secretary, so it may be a review for some of us. So preparing for meetings, just as a reminder and to get this completely out of the way, as a secretary, you are the keeper of all the legal documents. Once you sign minutes or a contract or any of the forms that require a secretary's signature, like a reimbursement for anything that was purchased on behalf of the PTA, it becomes a legal document. So please be mindful of how and where you store your all of your paperwork and documents. So preparing for meetings, you are in charge of, now these are suggestions from the California State PTA. So as the secretary, you are the one who sends out the meeting notices. You're the one who posts up the flyer. You can delegate, of course, please delegate. You don't have to do it all. But you're in charge of posting up meeting flyers on your PTA board at campus, of emailing them, especially right now during this time that we're staying home and doing a lot of contactless communication. You are in charge of sending out those notices. We're having an association meeting in 2 weeks. Here's the agenda. Here are the minutes that need to be ratified and or amended and adopted. So please look them over. A lot of times your president will take on this role, but work very closely with your president, not only for the notices that need to go out, but also for the agendas. And it'll be the president and all the chairs and VPs that are on your board. Ask them what they want to talk about. Give them the opportunity. You are, like I said, you are sending out the agenda before the meeting, and these usually go out. Now you have to double check on your bylaws, because I want to remind you to get to know those bylaws, read them, love them, and live them, because those are the rules for your units that everybody on the board should follow. Now, sometimes it'll be difficult, so just do the best that you can and follow them as closely as you can. Sometimes you just kind of have to interpret them to fit your unit's needs. Again, go back to your bylaws, send out your notices ahead of time for your executive meeting, your executive officers, and also for the association. Send out only the minutes, send out the minutes only to your members. And those are the unofficial working minutes in case that for your next meeting, you have to make any corrections, and we'll show you the official way to correct minutes. Angie?
Okay. Meetings, what to bring. So as Sochi said, bylaws and standing rules. Make sure you do get a copy from your president of the bylaws. If you have parliamentarian, then they'll have that. And the standing rules are at the back of your bylaws. So get to know all of that. I think I read mine about 5 times and still didn't get it all. So you can just keep reading them just so that you can get a better understanding, especially for not just your position, but others. It helps a lot. Meeting agenda. That will be given to you. Your president will make the agenda, and then you are to, is it 20 copies we have to, or is it?
As many, you want to provide as many, when you're physically on campus,
Yeah.
you want to make as many copies as you think you average. If your quorum is 16, then you want to make, 20 or 25 copies of your minutes. And your quorum depends on your bylaws as well. So just make as many as you can, as you think is needed, because you can always run down to the copy machine and make more.
Yeah, always have a runner. And since we're going to be doing the Zoom, that's going to be a whole different thing. So it'll be easier in a sense, but it will be, but we still want to get in the habit of making those copies, because, or not making that many copies, but at least we're going to be building a binder. And this is my first time being a secretary. I've been every position, I think, except secretary. So this will be fun learning and following our previous secretary for council. Oh my gosh.
And our previous secretary, just so you know, is now president.
Yeah.
Something to aspire to, ladies.
And the minutes from the previous meeting. So if it's your second meeting, you'll have the minutes from the previous meeting. If it's your first one, of course, you won't have it. Correspondence, any correspondence you might have received, principal or other meetings that are going on that they want you to have information on. A list of unfinished business that you might not have had from the last meeting. A list of committees, chairs, and their members. That's always great to have, even if it's just, sorry, there's a helicopter over top.
Let me go back while you've got your helicopter issue there. A list of the unfinished business may include things that were tabled at the last meeting. For whatever reason, the person that was the committee chair didn't show up to give a report that you needed to talk about, purchasing items for the event. Or it could be that you needed to do a little more research. Those are the type of things that are on your list of unfinished business. Go ahead, Elaine.
Okay. List of committees, chairs, and their members. Membership list. That's a big deal. Make sure you get that membership list. If you have a membership chair, that you will coordinate with them. As like our unit did not have a membership chair, so I ended up as a president having to have the membership list from the totem. So make sure you have that, especially when you have to do voting, and you want to make sure you have just the members that are voting. Motion forms, some people use them. I don't think we've ever used them, but some schools do like them. It would be a great thing to get to use. Ballots of paper for voting, another thing. These are things that if you ever have gone to or want to go to convention, these are things that you use when we do voting at the California PTA conventions. Robert's Rules of Order, there's a link, so she put it in there, and she says it's a great YouTube link because I bought the book, and I think this is much better than the book.
It's just it's an assignment. You can tell they're just college students for an assignment, but it goes step by step on how to run a meeting. And if your president isn't there, you may have to step in to take over that meeting if they have to step out or they aren't able to attend your meeting. That president may ask you to run the meeting. It'll be difficult taking minutes and running the meeting, but at least you'll know what is going on or what should be going on in the proper order and the proper way.
Oh, who's going to be answering these questions in the background? Because I see chats.
We will answer them at the end of the
Okay, I
presentation if
just
you
saw it.
hurry. Mhm.
Okay. Dictionary. If you got your laptop, of course, you can use that, or your phone, but you can also have a physical dictionary if they even exist. Calendar, definitely your school calendar, making sure it's up to date. I always do the app, the PUSD app that's on the phone, because it keeps the master calendars in there, especially if you want to make sure you're not, I'm sorry, my puppy is biting my toes. If you don't want to crash somebody else's event, you want to make sure, you know, sometimes we want to make sure that if a middle school has something going on and you're at an elementary, and some parents have kids at both, and that's the local, like Elliott and Altadena Arts, you don't want to do stuff that are on the same day that could make parents have to choose. So it's always good to have that calendar.
And also, you should your president and your principal should have already met before the first association meeting or the first executive meeting to get the calendar ready for your particular school. If your
Yes.
goal this year is to have a fall festival and a jogathon, they should be on the school calendar. And you should, I apologize for saying you should, but it is suggested that you have a working calendar for PTA events that you can share with your members.
Yeah. And then materials for note or minute taking. I do like to have both. I like to have, when I've done, even for council secretary, when the secretary was out, I would have the agenda in front of me. I would have my laptop, and I would jot stuff on and then do that. That way I would have double, or if I wasn't quick enough, then that way I could go back and make sure that I got everything that was needed. Okay.
I want to just touch one more thing on the membership list, that you receive the latest version and the updated list when or if you need to take a vote and there are guests in your audience. I'm sorry, that's my son in the background. I lost my train of thought. Your membership, go talk to your dad. I'm in a meeting. I'm so sorry. Your membership list, the latest version of it, the most updated one, in case that there are guests in your audience or at the meeting, they may want to vote, but their vote will not be considered because they are not paid members. So like I said, like Elaine said, having that latest membership list is important. Now, how do you carry all of these things around with you? You can throw them in a binder, you can throw them in a big tote bag, or you can carry one of those plastic bins around, however works for you. Sometimes you don't need all of that stuff, but it's good to have somewhere near you so you can run and get it in case you need to reference any of that at your meeting. So here's a sample agenda. You can come back to it, and I think the next slide gives you details about how to have it or what to do when you're doing your meeting. So what to do at a meeting, you of course take attendance, and you have a physical sign-in sheet when you're on campus with a regular pen and a piece of paper, so you want that wet signature, and that attendance sheet goes attached to your agenda. No, I lied, to your minutes. You verify your quorum. You need to make sure you have the minimum amount of people for your voting so you can continue with your meeting. Sometimes that's not possible, and you will reflect that in your minutes. You will write something to the effect of motion brought up for this. We cannot vote on it due to not quorum, but the majority here is majority attending passes it or is in favor of it, but it cannot pass because there's not quorum, or something to that effect. Of course, I'm jumbling up my words now. But go back to your bylaws and it'll tell you what your quorum is. You present your minutes for approval from the last meeting. I apologize if I'm talking in simplified forms, but I want to make sure that this is clear. So you've got your minutes. You had a meeting in January. It was January 15th. You had a meeting. You took your minutes. The next meeting is February 15th. You have the minutes from your January meeting, and that is when you present them for adoption. And before you put them for adoption. You ask if there's any changes or corrections, and only the people who went to that January meeting can make changes or corrections at the February meeting.
And you have to have quorum to adopt them.
Yes.
Otherwise,
So,
you have to wait till the following month.
So also at your meetings, you're going to announce any motions of the board. So if someone motions to have pizza for Friday night lunch for the teachers, someone has to motion, say the motion, someone has to second the motion, up for discussion, vote, and then whether or not it passes. And then you reiterate that this is what you are writing in the minutes. You vote the count, you count the votes. If there's if it's a really close tie, you can ask for a show of hands to clarify and write down 7 yays and 6 nays, 7 yeses or 6 noes, and 2 abstain from voting. So you just have to be detail has to be in your minutes if it is that close or there's any kind of confusion or doubt about the voting. And of course, as the secretary, you have to be a voting member of the board. You have to be a member of your PTA.
Okay. Taking the minutes, which I saw a bunch of the questions coming
We'll
up.
go back to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Minutes. State what was done, not what was said. You want to go a little more detail, Sochi? You explained it really well.
Of course. So you want to state what was done. You want to the facts, just the facts. You want to say what motion was brought up, what was that it was discussed, not the exact words. You don't want to quote anybody. You want to say the motion was brought up by so and so seconded the motion, and you did the voting and whether or not the motion passed. And you need to be very clear in your verbiage in your minutes, because those minutes are going to be used to hold your association and board members accountable. It's mostly when it comes to spending money. And so you want to be very clear. $100 motion, Susie brought up, let's see, so Susie motioned to spend $100 on candied apples for the Fall Festival 2020. John seconded the motion. Motion up for vote. Motion carried by unanimous. Quorum was met. That is just a quick example. You want to be very accurate, brief, and factual. It's almost writing things out really clear for dummies. Like I said, the record is final. Once you sign off on those minutes, that's it. You can amend the motions, but there has to be you're talking about Fall Festival apples, and that motion passed for spending $100. You have to go on to something else, a different subject. If there's a motion, do that whole process again, and then you can come back to the Fall Festival apples. And I know that's a little confusing. It goes over it in the video a little bit in more detail with the link that we just put up, but you have to have something in between before you amend the apple motion. So Carolina wants to increase the amount of money that we spend on those apples for the Fall Festival. So she brings up a motion. I would like to amend the amount of money that we spend. I'd like to increase the funds to $150 for purchasing the Fall Festival apples that were going to be for sale. And then we have David, who will second the motion. It goes up to vote, and then it goes whether you will note whether it's passed or not. I hope that makes sense. And then as you're taking your minutes, you use a separate paragraph or a separate bullet for each subject. You don't want one run-on paragraph for your whole meeting. It has to be separate. And then you are really encourage your president to work off the agenda that was set out. You want to go, if they do the president's report first, and that's That's what's going to happen first at your agenda. At your meeting. Go on that agenda. If things need to go out of order, it needs to be put up for a motion to amend it at the very beginning of the meeting. Elaine, you know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, like if you have the principal has to leave right away. She's got to go to a board meeting, and she was going to come on, third to speak and give the principal's report. You get a motion to change the order of your agenda, and after if it's passed, which normally it is, you change it and it's all noted and it's in the record, so that way it doesn't look out of order when you do your minutes, because that's where it'll come back. Because when you look at your minutes and you look at your agenda, it'll look off. But when you amend it, then it'll say that it was amended, it was changed, and the order is changed. Okay, be brief and factual, be accurate. We already said all those things.
So let me interrupt you. So we're going to continue what to include in your minutes. You want to write at the very top of your minutes, and there is a sample in the next slide, the kind of meeting it was, whether it's an executive board meeting or if it's an association meeting, the name of the association, and you want the full name. It's not the Longfellow Elementary School PTA, it's the Henry Longfellow Elementary School PTA. Yeah. The date, time, and place, it'll be room 135, or it'll be under the pergola. The time the time the meeting was called to order. Do you want to, any pro-term officers or visitors that are there? Sometimes we do have guest speakers come, so you want to make sure that they are noted on your minutes. They may or may not speak, but anybody who's not a member needs to be acknowledged in your minutes. Whether or not you reached quorum, you have a courtesy given to who you gave that person to. You invited them, someone from the PUSD board, to come in and just hang out and observe you. The approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Summarize reports if someone, for anybody who's giving reports, you have that too. And it could be 1 or 2 sentences. Sometimes it'll be more detailed depending on what the topic is. Motions and their makers, unfinished business. Like I said earlier, make a list for any tabled items that you need to research, or the person's not there, whatever reason. Any new business, you want to write about that. Any announcements, sometimes at the bottom of an agenda, they'll be like, this is what's coming up this week, or this is coming up for the month on the school program. Yes. Any program information, time of adjournment, the attendance, like I said, when you're on campus, you have a wet signature sign-in sheet. Now, in the time of all of our virtual meetings, have your participants sign in the chat box. Then you want full name, because that is what their membership cards will reflect. And at the very end, the signature of the secretary on the minutes from the prior meeting if they were adopted.
And should they put if they're a guest?
Yes.
If they're not a member yet, so that way, which is also a good way to then reach out to them.
Oh, thank you. The next slide has a sample. Now I have to look because this is really tiny print here. A sample of a very, very old minutes that I took when I was secretary at Longfellow. I think it's from 2015 or 2016. I can't tell, but it's there for you. It's a sample. Like I said, you could use bullets or paragraphs, detailed, to the point, and brief.
Great.
Post meeting. So this is after you're all done with your meeting. You want to type up the minutes as close as to the last meeting as possible, because some details may or may not be lost depending on how detailed you are on your minutes. Your note taking. Collect any materials that are distributed in the meeting, because one copy should be with your notes. And it's not things like there's a flyer for PUSD adult ed class that's happening in 2 months. It's the kind of stuff that that is important to your unit. For example, I had I'm sorry. For example, I had, when I was president at Longfellow, there was a very hot topic that there was one parent that was very passionate about. She wanted to, some time at a meeting, and she wanted to give her views on why we should not have restaurant nights at Chuck E. Cheese, because she felt that we were encouraging the children to gamble. So we were very respectful. We gave her 10 minutes allotted time to express her views. She gave me the notes that she was reading off of, and we included those in the minutes. So it was respectful, it was timely, and it was noted legally in our minutes that that is her view and how why we would or we should or should not have Chuck E. Cheese restaurant night. You should provide a draft. This is the draft that you're doing after your last meeting that you're going to send prior to your next meeting with your flyer that the meeting is coming up, and only send them to your board member, to your association members. If minutes are approved, you write approved at the bottom of the last month's meeting with your date and the signature that it was approved on. I said that backwards. Write approved, the date it was approved, and sign it, and stick it in your file. And this is the file that you carry with you to the next meeting in case you need to go back and reference it. If minutes are corrected, I will show you at the next slide. If your minutes are corrected, make a note of it, write approved as amended, date it, and sign it, and again, file it away.
Can I just add, Sachi?
Yes.
Please make sure that you send your signed approved minutes to your treasurer. Selfishly want that.
Yes, so Angie is our treasurer, our council treasurer. Please go back for one more. I got two more things. Angie, please go back. Thank you. File the approved minutes in your files. Give a copy to the president, and as Angie reminded us, also to your treasurer, because like we said, these minutes are binding the board to what your association wants you to do with their funds. And like I stated earlier, only the group that attended the prior meeting can change those minutes. They can change them, approve them, make corrections. And at the end of your year, after June 30th, you are going to bind your minutes, agendas, and any materials that you collected throughout the year. You're going to bind them into a book, spiral bound. You do not have to do them hardbound, because this book will be stored away with the treasurer files for at least 10 years in case you get audited by the state or the IRS. So this is how you correct your minutes. You want to make sure that the mistake or the correction is highlighted either in a highlighter or a red ink pen, and that it's noticeable. It doesn't have to be anything obscene or ridiculous, but you do want to make sure that it's noticeable if someone is looking at your minutes. You want to take it to the side, make the correction via little bullets, and put the date that the correction is being made. So this was the meeting for July 2019, and you're correcting it on August 24th, 2019. No, yes, 2019, that's right. And then afterwards, you want to go at the bottom of the document and you write adopted plus the date and your signature. Go ahead, Angie. Oh, we are almost done. So these are the dates. Elaine?
Oh, no, I said, yep.
Okay. So these are the dates to calendar. These are the next PTA council board meeting, and we are changing things up a bit. So for our meetings now, again, like we stated earlier, we are being very aware of your time and how you choose to spend your time. So we are grateful for your volunteer time and your passion. So in that, we want to also make that time count that you spend with us. So we'll have a board meeting, go through our business, but then toward the end, there will be a small training. I know for sure that we're going to host a training for treasurers and auditors when it's time to to file your taxes, and when auditing time comes, because December 31st will be here right before you know it, and that is the first time that you get your mid-year audit. Taxes are due November 15th, so we need to train our treasurers on how to do those. They're not scary, so please encourage your treasurers to come. Also, what else? What else? Do you want to add anything to dates, Elaine?
No.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's 2 hours, correct?
Yeah, it's about 2 hours. Like I said, we're being very respectful of your time, so hopefully we'll go through things quickly and answer any questions. The next slide, this one is for resources. Anything you could possibly have questions for, these are the places to look. Of course, Elaine and I are always open for questions. Please email us, text us, send us a Morse code. We'll be happy to. That's what we're here for. California State PTA has a lot of wonderful resources for you. They have some annotated documents, especially for treasurers and auditors. But if you can't find it there, or the National PTA, or email, if you email us, we'll try to respond. If not, then we'll also reach out to the state, the California State PTA, Mr. Price, and we included his email there. There is a California State PTA webinar that we attended, and I included the link. It will not be available for too long, but if you have an hour or so of time in the car, please listen to it, because it will have much more detail than what we're going through right now. And also the handouts for that I've linked on there. These are our executive board. Please, we've got emails and phone numbers, and please don't be afraid to use them. We are friendly, I promise we do not bite. On Saturday, we have a question and answer session in the afternoon at 12:30. If you have any questions that we cannot answer here, we may bring them up on Saturday and answer them that way. If you have something that's specifically to your unit, please email Elaine, and she will be happy to answer that for you as well. And we have plenty of time for questions, so let's go ahead and go through our chat. Is there anything that, before we start going through the chat, anything that you're dying to know? Hi, Melody. You can all unmute yourself.
You want me to read the questions for
Yes,
you?
please, Angie.
Okay.
I don't have my glasses on because I don't want that glare for you guys.
Okay. Okay. Can we get a copy of this presentation?
Yes. Elaine will email it to the secretary who attended. Yes.
I think we were going to post them on our PUSD, our PTA Council website too, or no?
Mm-hmm. As soon as the video is ready. Mm-hmm.
Can we use screen share?
Did I mention that we are being recorded? I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think it announced it actually when we first did it.
You have to click OK to continue to the meeting.
Okay.
Can we use screen share for showing the minutes in Zoom meetings with board and association?
Yes. Yes, you can. And the more you communicate, the better. So if you're emailing them, great. But if those who didn't get it, and also helps you go in order of your agenda.
What's the best way to conduct voting online? In
The chat,
the hand icon, or other?
Yeah, we did. Sometimes we would, for school site council, because of course I have to be on another group. We have to do hands, and if somebody's, they're on their phone, they don't have video, or they're not able to do, then they have to type in, and they have to type the response, and then they count them.
I think if you want to have an anonymous vote, though, I don't know if that's.
Well, it would depend on what kind of vote. Usually for generic stuff, yeah.
So you can also use verbal votes like you would in real life. You can ask for yays and nays. And then you can also ask for hand raising, and if anybody wants to abstain. But it just really depends on how large a group you're voting with, or from, or for. So it just depends. Like right now there's 7 of us, and we could very easily ask for a vote. We could see whether it's a majority or not. But if you have 20 or so, then you could ask them to put it in the chat group. And usually the chat is recorded as well. So that will count. And you can, I believe you can print it out to include into your minutes.
Yeah,
There's
you can
also,
make a file or something.
there's a sample agenda on the presentation, so you'll be able to see that. But another place to get a sample agenda is at the CAPTA website. It's capta.org. Do I need to repeat that?
Carla and I did have our elections were on a Zoom, and so it was kept anonymous. So there is the platforms out there that you can do. It's a lot of hoops to jump through.
I thought the one we used was pretty good though.
Yeah.
Like just the platform itself, but that's just like for elections. Is there any other time you have to do an
Okay, the
anonymous vote?
consensus issue.
When there's motions, that's when we usually vote, whether or not, you know, on how to spend your funds, your association funds, or if you want to reallocate funds. Like you didn't use the $50 for plastic bags over the summer, so you could reallocate those to, you know, like playground equipment for purchasing for when the kids are in school. So those are votes, so they still count. So you'll
I
have
just
at
meant
least,
anonymous votes. Are there any other
Oh.
anonymous votes? Because
It's-
that's kind of a whole different thing. Like the board voting was the whole thing so it could be
Oh,
anonymous.
yeah.
It was complicated on Zoom.
I
But
guess it
most regular votes are not anonymous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
You answered the question about the agenda, right?
Yes, there's a sample
are
agenda, but go
recording.
on to CAPTA, go to the
Um,
CAPTA website.
Okay, so from Joan, how much detail should go in the notes? Do we need to know motion and who seconded? I think.
Yeah. As she
Oh.
typed it, we went over it after.
Okay.
Let me run and get my the 6 steps to how to get a motion and have it pass. So go on to the next question. I'll be right back.
Okay. For Melody, our May meeting minutes weren't presented at the July meeting we had. I'll be presenting them at our August meeting. We have a completely new board now than the one we had in May. How should we approve the May minutes?
Oh, that's a
You know,
doozy.
I mean, I
Ooh,
think
yeah.
they just said that they can't edit it. I think that was the
Yeah.
main thing.
I think that's the main thing. And because if you edit it, the only people that were there can edit it.
I was at the meeting, but as an association member, because it was an association meeting.
Well,
You
so
can just-
then you could be, if you know that there was something incorrect. And
And I think our president was also there.
yeah,
So
so
maybe some other board members, but I don't think we have 7 though that were there.
you don't need a,
Sorry.
Well, yeah.
you need a
Um,
quorum in the meeting at that time to approve those minutes. But you don't need a quorum of the people that were at the prior meeting. Is that what you're indicating, or?
I thought Xochitl said that the only people who can approve the minutes are those that were in attendance at the
No.
meeting that those minutes are from.
No, I'm sorry if no. Only the people that attended the prior meeting that you're correcting the minutes from can make changes or corrections.
Oh, I thought they were the only ones who could approve the minutes.
No. So Angie, Joan, and Carolina went to the January meeting, and then Melody, you and I went to the February meeting. So someone misspelled Angie's name, so we need to correct it. So only Joan and Carolina can make corrections. And then all 5 of us can approve it at the February meeting.
Okay.
Does that
great.
make sense? Okay.
Yeah, it does.
I'm
It
so
does.
sorry. I don't mean to be talking down to you, but I just want to make sure it's
Oh,
clear.
no, you're not. You're not.
Okay.
But I thought it sounded a little funny because, you know,
How are you going to get all those people at this meeting, right? So no,
right.
only the ones who attended the meeting that the minutes are being corrected can make changes. Yes. Okay. Okay. So let me go back to how do you note who motioned and who seconded. First, let's go over 6 quick steps. This is 6 steps on how a motion is made. First, you make the motion. A member rises or raises his hand or her hand to signal the chairperson because they want the attention. The second step is another member seconds the motion. So the first person will say, I motion da 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 da. And then the second person will say, I second the motion da 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 da. Then the chairperson or president or whoever's in charge will restate the motion. The motion is da 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 da. Then if there's a discussion or a debate, that's when the time that it's appropriate. You do not write who said what to whom and in what tone of voice. You do not need to write that down, because there have been minutes where it's so-and-so said and so-and-so responded. We don't want that, because that almost borderlines in gossip and yuckiness. And as secretaries, we need to stay as neutral as we possibly can. We can think whatever we want in the back of our heads, but in front of everybody else, we are Switzerland. Yeah, those are the ones that are neutral. Then you ask for the vote. Your chairperson or your president will ask for the vote. The chairperson will reinstate. Hold on. You guys, I'm in a meeting. The chairperson reinstates the motion, asks first for the affirmative votes, the yes votes, and then the negative votes. Those are the no votes, and in case anybody abstains from voting. And then the vote. The chairperson announces the result of the vote and any instructions. Those are the six steps. And then, hold on, Angie, let me just finish. And then that is how you record it in the minutes. Who did the motion? Who seconded the motion? That it was reinstated by President so-and-so or Chairperson so-and-so. And you write, discussion ensued, or there was a talk about it, or any kind of verbiage saying, we talked a little bit about it, but no details about that discussion. And then vote, it was put up for vote, and it passed by so many votes, or it did not pass by so many votes, and so many people abstained. And then that's it. That's all you put in your minute. Yes, Angie.
Well, the discussion part I get hung up on, because it feels like, someone might at a new meeting, like, well, did you guys talk about this, or did you consider this? Like,
Right.
that would be that discussion. And
So that person
not in the
should have
minutes. We're just trying to remember what was said. I don't know.
No, and just to be a little snarky, that person should have gone to the meeting. That's it.
Well, I was going to ask though, so I understand that there's like the PTA minutes that, the secretary's minutes that, go into like a record that gets bound and kept in case of an audit. But I find, like for myself as a board member, like when the times when I've done it, I've written pretty extensive, I just typed as people have been talking about ideas. Would it be, I could still like, as long as I don't include those in the official minutes and didn't attach like names, I totally get like, don't say so-and-so said this, so-and-so. But like sometimes it's really helpful to just have a record of all the ideas, because people are throwing out ideas. Can I just keep that separate from the official minutes so that it's not like a...
So yes, Carla, if you're typing up your minutes on your laptop, or if you're taking notes, you can be as detailed as you want to, but the official minutes are just to the point and detailed, but no views at all. It just has to be boom. Not Carla said and Angie responded. None of that stuff. Nobody needs to know. They should have come to the meeting.
So the next question is, Carla, how much detail from treasurer's reports do we need to include?
Just need the actual, whatever the treasurer, they bring their report, that's part of it, unless there's discussion.
But like the numbers, like I don't have to like,
no, you should.
We have this balance and that balance. I don't have to like type that in.
No. So the treasurer should have a physical report for you, for everybody to see. They should make copies also to hand out. And your copy, you just put in with your minutes. That's it. But when they are ratifying checks, the treasurer said, we wrote check 125 to Elaine's Masterpiece Theater for, the assembly in July. That you have to write down. Or saying, or something the treasurer will say, we wrote check 123 through check 176 for totaling $5,000, 627 cents. Whatever it is, that is what you write. But you also have the treasurer report with you, because it has to be noted, the checks that were written, the checks that were, and to whom they were written to. A lot of times it depends on your unit. If you write checks to reimburse some of your teachers, you need to make sure that those are noted. Otherwise, there's no record why this check was written. you'll have a copy of the written check. The treasurer will have a copy of that check, but there will be no reason why. There's no paper trail. So they'll go back to the minutes saying, oh, check 123 was written to Mrs. Smith as a reimbursement, and it's official in your minutes.
So you
And
need
also-
to include the check number, the check number, or who it's made out to, and a brief description of why or what it is.
You can, but unless, but these are things that should have already been approved at
Okay.
beforehand.
Just reflecting.
Yeah. Mhm.
What about Sochi? Because I know that a lot of times, and this was a big deal, it became a big deal. If you receive checks from people to be members, that's
So-
supposed to be noted. And that was a big deal that we didn't have that in minutes.
So I think that was an individual case. So what your membership chair will do is they will have that working list of members who have paid their membership either by check, cash, money order, or through Totem. You know, even if they just pay you in coins, your membership chair will have that list of members. Your treasurer will have the record of the deposits of those membership dues. And then for the meeting, one or both will say, this past month, the month of January, we added 7 new members, and the treasurer, I deposited on whatever day, and that's how you note it. You don't have to have names of new members in your minutes because the membership chair already has it, and the treasurer. So you will have the running list in your files as reference for when it's time to vote. Is that clear? Did I clarify that, Carla?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure secretaries know that there's the payment request form. And I know in the past I was never good about making sure that this bottom portion was filled out, and the secretary does sign it, and they need to write the date that this pay request was approved in the minutes. And there's a place for the treasurer to write the check number, the budget category, amount of expenses, amount owed. And I'm going to refer to those minutes to do that.
So Angie, will you put it up to the
I don't know, my room is dark.
Let me see. Yes, but they need so on there's a place for president's signature and the secretary's signature, but this is the treasurer's responsibility to bring it to you.
Yeah.
And once you sign it, it's super duper official. It becomes that legal document.
But that's why I wanted it in the minutes. I want that information in the minutes.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you for that reminder. What's the next one?
From Melody, does that mean we can record the virtual meetings? That's how we can get a copy of the chat box. Are you referencing? Sorry.
Melody, are you asking just so you can go back and take review your minutes? Is that why you want to record?
We had a meeting last week or a couple weeks ago, and the president wasn't sure if we could record it. I was told I belong to another. I'm on the board of another organization, and I guess when you record the minutes, when you record the Zoom meetings, it allows you to get a copy of the chat, whatever is discussed in the chat, not the private chats. And also it allows you to get a transcript that's already, I guess, made or something, and not to use that as the minutes, but both could be references. And if people are voting via the chat box and also signing in, especially for association meetings where there could be quite a few people. Sorry.
That's okay. Put him on the. We'll say hi. Put him on camera.
He's half dressed.
We've all been there.
And so my question is, if we can record the Zoom meetings like we're recording this one now, then it will allow us to have a copy of the chat. Otherwise, somebody's going to have to be writing down what goes on and how people vote in the chat, as we're typing the minutes. So
No, there's a way. So when you go, because I have to use 5 days a week. I have to use Zoom. So one of the ways is I can, like I just now saved it. You go into, it could be whoever's doing the meeting. So if say for us, we would do
the
it.
admin has to do it. Or can't do it?
Well, right
Okay.
now I just said save chat and it goes chat, save, show in folder. And I can then save it to, it says Secretary's Training. So it's going to be for a Zoom thing. I don't know. I'm just going to save it and see what it looks like.
Melody,
Is that feature available when you're not recording the meeting? Because I've never noticed it before, but that doesn't mean it's not there. But
Yeah.
well, I'll do is go ahead, Elaine.
I was going to say, because I know that has been a controversy for a long time about, like, for me, I would love to record and then go back to the notes so I could get, but then that's just me being anal because I would like to be more detailed, but I was told, no, you cannot do that. And I'm like, but why? So I don't know.
So right now, I think during this time, because it's not uncharted territory. That's all. We're going through this difficult time.
Yeah.
We're all learning as we go. I think right now, as long as you tell your audience, we are recording, you're okay. You can capture your chat, especially when it comes to voting. But future, when we go back to being able to have our meetings in person, I don't know how that will be. But right now, California State PTA is allowing recording of your meeting. That's why
we can destroy it after the minutes are done.
Well,
or
and
after the minutes are approved or whatever.
It does save it. It saves it on Notepad in your on your PC. So I just did it and it shows my notes and it shows every chat, who it was from, the time they did it. So it's time stamped and it's in there and you can then use that as documentation.
you know,
So we can all do that right now.
Go ahead.
I mean, I could say save chat and it'll just save it somewhere on my computer.
Do it. If you do it right now, go in there right to where the chat box is and those three little dots. It says save chat and it's going to show. And I think, because I don't know if it shows every, I'm going to count and see.
Yeah, it says meeting saved.
Okay, so if I can interrupt, we'll have a separate tutorial for Zoom if we need to, because there's 6 minutes left and we are being very, very careful of your time. Because I know
just wanted to say one quick thing.
Yes, please.
Just as a workaround for this whole issue, one idea I'd have to test out is to provide for sign-ins only, provide a Google Doc link in the chat and say, hey, attendees, please go into this, excuse me, Google Doc, type your name. That way it's recorded. You don't have to worry about recording the meeting via Zoom, but it's in the Google Doc. Just might be a workaround if was an idea.
That's a good idea, Carla.
Joan's question was next, which might sort of related. Will we need to print out copies of the Zoom meeting minutes? Do you mean like, do we need hard copies?
Do we have to have a hard copy? Do we have to have a paper copy of all the things in a binder? Because we've just been keeping them on a Google Drive.
So yes, so having this virtual meeting, it's still an official meeting. You still have to have quorum. You still have to do motions to pass things, to spend money. It's still a meeting, only it's virtual. So you're still taking the minutes and you're going to print them up. You're going to ask for wet signatures and you're going to be at your next meeting, your association should have a digital copy of your minutes for today's meeting, so they can make any corrections or changes before they're adopted. And once they're adopted, then you print them out, sign them with a wet signature with a pen, date it, write adopted, and file it away. So it's still the same procedure, only just one extra.
Note that it was via a Zoom meeting, or does that not matter? Okay.
Yeah, you can put it somewhere on there.
And then Melody had a question. Do we send the treasurer a hard copy with a wet signature, or can we scan the page and send the whole thing as an electronic file?
Yes, you can scan it because you'll have the original in your file. You want to make sure that you keep the originals of everything. Okay. All the sign-in sheets, any wet signatures for any of the documents. The only ones that the treasurer the treasurer will have their own forms that they need to keep the original of. And for whatever reason, you can also take a picture or scan it to send it to somebody else if they need to keep a copy of it. But you always keep the original.
If I needed the original, you can mail it to me, right? Or, you know, mail it to the treasurer.
Yeah, if you need original, if a treasurer needs the original signature, the original copy, then you can snail mail them too, or just hold on to them when you can drop it off and leave it on their porch again for contactless drop off, because we're trying to keep safe. Is there any, we have a couple more minutes. Is there any other questions?
I did have one. Give me a second to look back.
Okay.
Oh, no, we talked about it. It was the chat box issue.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, wait, let's see.
And you know, while you're doing this, I mean, you're taking minutes and you're paying attention to your meeting, you know, with everything else that's going on, just do the best as you can. You know, that's all we ask. We're all human. As much as I tell everybody I'm perfect, nobody believes me, seriously. So we all make mistakes and we just give each other grace as much as we can. And if we mess up, we just remind someone gently and try to be as positive as you can to each other and for yourself as well. You know, it's hard. We're all, we have the bar pretty high for ourselves, but sometimes we just have to recognize that we do make mistakes and just roll with it. Okay. Yes, Angie.
I'm sorry. You want to give them a heads up about being a non-check signer? Or?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Okay. So the treasurer, we just had, Angie and I just did a treasurer training this morning. So there's my son. Come on, if you want to say hi, hurry, because I'm taking up people. See, there he is. He's also.
Hey, Mickey.
Hi, my son Mickey, like the mouse. So signatures. So the treasurer, so your board, there are 3 positions that you have to have in order to be a unit. It's president, treasurer, and secretary. You are one of the 3 most important positions on this board. So 1, give yourselves a big pat on the back for taking on this position, because it does take a lot of responsibility. And also, it is suggested, now you're going to go back to your bylaws, like I said, read them, live them, love them, to whether or not, as a secretary, you are a check signer. Some units specify in their bylaws that a secretary is a check signer. I apologize, a check signer. So you have to have 3. Now these check signers may not be related to each other by blood, marriage, or household. So you, but if you are not a designated check signer by your bylaws, it is suggested by the state PTA, California State PTA, that you are the non-signer that will review the bank statements as they arrive. So the bank statements for the treasurer usually are mailed to the school address. At this time, they are not. I'm sorry, they are, but the treasurer does not have access to them. So what the treasurer may be able to do is have them, the bank statements mailed to the secretary if the secretary chooses to be in charge of reviewing the bank statements. If that person is, if the secretary by your bylaws is a check signer, then you may not review any of the financial documents until the very end when the treasurer brings them to you for signature.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
I guess our bylaw that the secretary is not a check signer,
Okay.
but our bank says that the secretary has to be, be a check signer, or be I have to accompany the others to the bank, and
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I heard today too.
Well, yours is different, Carla, because our California credit unions never required a secretary to be a signer.
They just have weird stuff.
What Kira brought up too is this thing that I knew that the secretary had to sign the bank statement, but I thought it was just at a meeting. Here we go. Here's not before I cannot review the bank statement as treasurer until the secretary has looked at it and
Yes.
review that
So
there's
this
no
is-
red flags, and
okay.
then she signs it and gives it to me, and then I reconcile.
So let me just go into a little bit. If you are not a designated check signer by your bylaws, California State PTA suggests that as a secretary, you review the bank statements, and you're just opening the bank, physically opening the bank statement envelope, looking at it, making sure, because you'll know that there will be deposits from your fall festival, from your jogathon, from the book fair, from membership. You know money is going into that account because you're making those notes. You have those minutes. And so you're kind of looking to them that they're being done in a timely manner. You're also looking for that there are no big chunks of money being transferred out of that checking account, out of your PTA account. So you're looking for those little red flags, because you know if after January's meeting, you should have about $5,000 in the unit account, and all of a sudden there's $500, something happened and there needs to be an answer to it. So you're one of the set of eyes for the treasurer if you are not a designated check signer. Okay, if you are not allowed to open those statements.
Who does?
So is that going to be my job too, Angie?
Yeah. 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 So what school are you with, Melody?
Oh, San Rafael.
Yeah. Well,
I think it has
I
to
know
do with the bank.
But yeah, the
Chase-
banks don't understand
Chase
how
Bank.
it works. That we're a nonprofit, and so CAPTA would prefer, I think, right? So
Yes, CAPTA would prefer.
Not check signers.
But you have to follow your bylaws, and you can always amend them when the time comes if you think.
And if Melody, if her bylaws, do your bylaws state you're a check signer?
No.
So then
No.
you cannot.
Fine.
You have to tell you have to show those bylaws to the bank.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it's happened in previous boards. So that's just what we've been told. And I know with my other organization, we bank with One California, and they
Oh, she froze.
supposed to be a check signer, which is just the president and the treasurer. So there's no problem there. But I guess with Chase, they require something different.
You can always threaten to go somewhere else, and they tend to change.
Stop it.
They do. They do.
Stop it. Okay, so take your bylaws, talk to them, and if not, contact Angie, contact one of us, the president. We will help you figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, it is now 8:34. Is there any other burning question? No? Thank you so much, ladies, for spending time with us. We really appreciate it.